Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Live in Leesburg, where every Friday we take you behind the scenes of one of our many departments to show you how things work. Today we're going to be talking about Preservation Month. It takes place the entire month of May and promotes historic places for the purpose of instilling national and community pride, promoting heritage tourism, and showing the social and economic benefits of historic preservation. So there's no better place to be right now than our historic downtown that we're going to be talking about today, including Be Beauty, which you see right here, along with staff members Debbie Perry and Lauren Murphy. They're here today to talk to us about preservation, including two projects that the BAR worked out, which also have an economic development twist. So again, we're standing in front of Be Beauty, located at 13 South King Street. And if I remember correctly, the entrance used to be on the side of this building, not the front, correct?
Correct.
All right, so tell me a little bit about how this came to be.
Well, good morning, Leah. Happy Preservation Month. As you said, I'm Lauren Murphy. I'm the preservation planner for the town. This is Debbie Perry, also in our office. So this project here is actually one of my favorite projects in Leesburg as it relates to preservation right now. The door for this building, you may remember, used to be along the alleyway here, along the Leesburg Walk. And the property owner approached the Board of Architectural Review about the possibility of relocating that door to the front elevation here on King Street. And as you might imagine, we don't typically let people cut big holes in their historic facades for no reason. So she actually came prepared with a lot of research that showed that this is actually exactly where the door used to be. So she was able to sort of update the BAR, provide historic photos, and then they worked through the details of how to cut a new door into this old building where it had been patched previously and still have it fit with the character of the historic district. And I personally think she did a great job. As I said, it's one of my favorite preservation projects that we have in town right now. It's such a small detail, but it really brings the front elevation of this building to life. It gives her the entrance right on historic King Street that she wants, and it harkens back to the actual history of this building because that's where the door was before. So I think she did a great job with it. You can see where they've had to patch the brick, they've cut in a new sill, and they've got that beautiful pop of color on their door to really invite people into their business. And I think it's really made a big change, even though it was sort of a small detail to begin with. And she should be really proud of the work because it looks awesome.
Absolutely, yes. And I know I've talked to Christina, owner of Be Beauty, who has said it has made a huge difference. When she first moved to this location about a year ago, many people didn't even know how to get into her store. Yep. And now she has finally a front entrance off of King Street that invites everyone inside, and it's been great so far. Now, this door was originally part of this building back in the 1800s.
Right.
Do we keep those records on file? I mean, where would people find that information?
Balch Library is the key to all of the answers to your historic property questions in Leesburg. They have a great repository of resources, of photographs, of oral histories that have been told about historic buildings in Leesburg. So if you're wondering about a question about your historic building, you can probably find the answer at Balch. And I believe that's where the owner of this property found her historic photos to prove that the door had been there in the first place.
All right. So Christina, if you're watching this, please let us know in the comments below exactly how you found out about this historic information. There is another building that we're going to walk to right now, which is just down here at the corner. So while we are walking over to it, I wanted to ask, if someone does want to update the appearance of a historic building, how would they go about doing this?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we get that question all the time in the historic district, is what kind of changes can I make to my property? Do I have to keep everything exactly how it is now? The answer is no. We want these buildings to be living and breathing buildings. We want people to take care of them and respect their historic character and their historic quality, but we also want them to work for modern use. So you can make changes to your historic buildings. The way to go about doing that is to submit a certificate of appropriateness application. Pretty much any exterior change that you see happening in the historic districts is going through some sort of review process with the town, either through an administrative process that I handle in our office or through the Board of Architectural Review. This is a good one across the street here at the Coldwell Banker building. They sorry, that truck's kind of loud. They just repainted all of this trim, and they did that through an administrative process. We did it in about a few hours in the office, and then they were able to get their okay to repaint the trim on that building. So it can be anything from a minor project like repainting to something as big as constructing a whole new addition or even a whole new structure in the district.
Now, is it just the outside of buildings, or can this also work for the inside? Because I imagine there's a lot of historic decor inside of these buildings as well.
There is. As far as where our regulation and our review ends, it's with the outside of the building. Of course, we would encourage you to keep historic material that is inside your building, heart pine floors, for example, or historic transoms and moldings on the interior, historic fireplace mantles on the interior. always good to keep those things and to let them tell the history of your building, but they're not actually reviewed by the town as part of the certificate of appropriateness application. Now, if you talk about cutting a new window in your house because you want to install a bathroom, that new window would come to us, but not the actual bathroom fixtures themselves.
Okay, great. So as discussed just a moment ago, there is actually this building right here on the corner that we wanted to discuss. And it used to be an antique store, for those of you who remember, and now it's been created into 3 individual stores, one of which is open right now, brick and mortar. The other 2 will be Sunflower Shack and Senor Ramon's, which is just around the corner right now on Loudon Street. So tell me exactly what needed to be done in order to make one large building into 3 different stores.
Great. Well, first I'll back up and tell you that it actually used to be the historic Opera House. So this corner was anchored by the Leesburg Opera House, and it was torn down. And that sort of prompted some of our town leadership at the time. This was in the 1960s, so Stanley Calkins was sort of the father of the historic district here in Leesburg. He and other town leaders saw that these things were happening. They were really concerned that we were losing historic fabric. And so in 1963, they actually created the Leesburg Old and Historic District. It's the oldest one in Loudoun County, and it's one of the oldest ones in Northern Virginia. They were pretty forward thinking to be able to get in that early and start protecting heritage resources in the town. But the demolition of the Opera House was a big impetus for that. So after the Opera House was torn down, this building was constructed. It, as many people will remember, was an antique shop at the time. And so when the property owner here purchased the property and started thinking about what he saw for the vision of this corner, he worked with the Board of Architectural Review to make all of these exterior changes that you see here. So adding the awnings, creating some of these storefronts, and then working to update the character of this building so that it's still compatible with the town, even though the building was, by Leesburg standards, a new building.
Sure.
He could have put in a request to put an addition on the building or to even potentially demolish it, but he worked with the fabric that he had and appreciated that there were some minor changes. It probably doesn't feel minor to him because he's been working on it and it's beautiful, but there were some minor things that could be done to really bring this building up to the same character and the same level of historic standard that all of our other buildings in the downtown have.
All right, so, and I honestly, I mean, you just said it yourself, this looks amazing, the transition that's taken place. Yeah. Obviously, it meets all of the requirements that were needed. How long would you say this process took place?
It was a big project and a big undertaking, so it did take a couple of meetings with the board, but they were able to work through all of the details, and the property owner, I think, is pretty happy with the outcome. I think the board is pretty happy with the outcome. I think the shoppers and the restaurant diners here are going to be pretty happy with the outcome. We can't wait until the building's full and we can go in and really see it in its full experience.
Absolutely. So great. So that was just 2 experiences that we've recently had regarding the preservation of historic buildings here in the downtown. Thank you so very much for explaining the process to us a little bit. If someone wanted to have more information, who would they contact?
They can contact me anytime. So as I said, I'm the town's preservation planner. I'm 703-771-2773. If you have a question about your historic property, if you're wondering about what you're going to work on is something that needs to go through a review process, please, anytime, give me a call and I'm happy to work through it with you.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you again, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. We'll see you next week back here for Live in Leesburg.